Welcome to Christian Statesman. I'm your host, Zach Wagner, and this is episode 44. How biblical do you want to get? When I have discussions with friends and colleagues about current events, particularly the unrest in government and social fabric around us, there is a tumult of opinion and the perceptions range far and wide. Diversity of opinion is certainly not lacking when it comes to our current state of affairs. But I would posit that the most useful response to any opinion, to any take on today's key issues is, how biblical do you want to get? We can choose to see the flow of human events through many lenses. The operative question is which lens is the most accurate, the most enduring. When we undertake to attach a political, sociological, or psychological spin to things, we are using useful temporal frameworks to analyze, organize, and think through the issues. But those perspectives and theories are flexible and changeable. An eternal lens, seeking to see things through the perspective of the divine, requires an entirely different mindset. It requires a viewpoint that remains unchanging, no matter how unpredictable the course of current events. If we adopt the biblical perspective, we must attempt to overlay the prophetic predictions of Scripture upon what we actually see developing on the ground. And to do so leads us to interesting conclusions. Do we accept the second coming of Christ as an inevitable historical event or just biblical myth? Do we understand the events described in the book of Revelations? Can we see these very events unfolding before us? How real are the prophecies contained in Scripture, or is it all just the fantasies of ancient and deluded minds? Jesus counseled us in Matthew chapter 24, verses 32 and 33, quote, "Now learn ye a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors." This is a direct call to a perceptual ability to discern the signs of the times pertaining to, quote, "the sign of thy coming and the end of the world," unquote. As inquired after by ancient disciples in verse 3 of the same chapter, the metaphor is fitting. Can we perceive the budding leaves on the tree? Can we discern the times and the seasons? There are signs all around us of worldwide political instability. The entire governments of Kuwait, Russia, the Netherlands, and Estonia have resigned in the last week. There is great disruption in primary figures in England, Italy, Germany, and elsewhere. Here in America, we have a faux president, not able to faithfully be sustained by at least half of the country. All of this instability points to greater turmoil in the very near future. Yet at no time in history has mankind possessed the power, advanced weaponry, mass communications, and social constructs to either lift and deliver the world from its inherent problems or seek to destroy freedoms and deliver mankind into the bonds of subjugation. These are the issues now before us. This is the primary duality before the nations of the world, and has it always been thus? There are forces that want an order of things that lead to the eventual suppression of the freedoms of mankind to the benefit of the few, the elite. There is another struggle that seeks to restore the individual sovereignty of nations and unbind them from the overreach of an international one-world trajectory. The struggle is real. It is ongoing. But can our listeners understand that it is beyond the political? It is actually biblical. We are now, in our humble opinion here at Christian Statesman, squarely living in the narrative of the book of Revelations. We stand on the precipice of a number of the events foreseen by John the Revelator. One in particular, an event that can be seen with continuing international unrest, is mentioned in Revelations chapter 17 and 18. If you read these chapters and simply substitute the term currency-driven economies for Babylon, it fits right into our present structure. And the great prediction is the fall of Babylon. John describes these events thusly, quote, "The merchants of these things, which were made rich by her, shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that was clothed in fine linen, and purple, and scarlet, and decked with gold, and precious stones, and pearls, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught." Unquote. Political strife always leads to political and economic instability. We've had enough markers over the last century, including 2 world wars, to alert us to the impending patterns we now see before us. Are we awake to these facts? Will we understand that the biblical aspects of all things are not so far out as we might imagine? Might we put forward the idea that our mindset, our spiritual survival, and our very physical preparation and conduct may very well depend on how we act upon such things? Let us reason together as we view the events unfolding before us. We ask our audience, how biblical do you want to get? May we further suggest, the more you glean from the Scriptures, the better prepared you will be. Food for thought. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe, tell your friends, and as always, have a blessed day.